Lesson 4. Leverage, the power behind the pipeline. Once the pipeline was complete, Pablo didn't have to carry buckets anymore. The water flowed whether he worked or not. It flowed while he ate. It flowed while he slept. It flowed on the weekends while he played. The more the water flowed into the village, the more the money flowed into Pablo's pockets. Leverage is an awesome concept, a civilization-altering concept. In fact, without leverage, you wouldn't be holding this book right now. Let me explain. In 1440, a young German entrepreneur named Johannes Gutenberg converted a wine press into the world's first commercial printing press. He printed 180 copies of the Gutenberg Bible and sold them all within a few days. Gutenberg's printing press was an immediate success. Within decades, printing presses had sprung up all over Europe. By the mid-1600s, there were 8 million printed books circulating in Europe, which was 10 times the number of books that had been produced during the previous thousands of years combined. Books by bucket carriers versus publishing by pipeline builders. The Gutenberg press shattered the books by bucket carriers paradigm. Prior to Gutenberg, books were hand-copied by scribes and monks. One handwritten book could take years to produce and were so expensive that only royalty could afford them. Gutenberg changed all that. With the printing press, the printer set the movable type once, and then could easily produce thousands of exact copies. The printing press leveraged the printer's time and money, thereby dramatically increasing productivity. In the books by bucket carriers model, there's a 1-to-1 ratio between efforts and results. 1 hour's effort produces 1 hour's result. If it took one scribe 1 day to hand copy 1 page, and then it would have taken him 100 days to turn out 100 pages. Enter the printing press, the pipeline building model. Let's say it took a 16th century printer 1 day to set the type for 1 page, so that by the end of the day, he would have produced just 1 printer's proof copy. But look what happened in day 2, the printer came into work and pressed 100 copies. In other words, a printer could produce in 2 days what it would have taken the scribe 100 days to produce. That's the power of leverage. In the pipeline building model, the ratio between effort and result is no longer 1:1. When we use leverage, the effort remains the same, but the result can be 100 times greater, 1,000 times greater, or even millions of times greater. 2 kinds of leverage, time and money. The root word for leverage, lever, comes from an old French word meaning to make lighter, which is an apt description of the power of leverage. By employing a lever, a big load can be made so light that a child could easily move it. When we apply the principle of leverage to time and money, the same thing happens, the results are compounded. For example, in the case of leveraging time, 1 hour's effort can result in 100 hours of production. 1 week's work can result in 1 year's production. In the case of leveraging money, each dollar invested over time can compound until it grows to many times the initial investment. Classic examples of leverage. The printing press is an example of how people can leverage their time, money, and efforts. Leverage shatters the equation of 1 unit of time for 1 unit of money. Leverage allows people to work smarter, not harder, and it's the power behind every pipeline. Leveraging time, hiring employees is a classic example of how people can leverage their time. Let's say you want to open a restaurant. It would be impossible for you to act as a host, waiter, chef, dishwasher, and bookkeeper and still run a profitable business. You can only be in one place at a time, so you hire people to perform certain tasks. If you pay your 10-person staff an average of $10 per hour, you're paying out $100 an hour in wages. If your restaurant takes in an average of $1,000 per hour in revenue, the difference after expenses goes into your pocket. Leveraging money. A classic example of leveraging money is investing in the stock market. No doubt you've heard of Warren Buffett. He's a living legend on Wall Street and the second or third richest man in the world. He built his fortune the old-fashioned way. He leveraged other people's money and made himself and his investors rich in the process. How rich? Check this out. If you had invested $10,000 in Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway stock back in 1965 and left it there to grow year after year, by 1998 your investment would have been worth, hang on to your hat, $51 million. Wow! How would you like to own that pipeline? 35 years ago, one share of Berkshire Hathaway stock cost only $19. By the end of 1998, that single share was worth about $70,000. Which means that you could have leveraged a $300 investment in 1965 into $1 million today. Unbelievable. Pipelines are worth building. Now do you understand the power of leverage? Berkshire Hathaway stock is living proof that with leverage, the results are disproportionate to the effort. Think about it, how much effort would it have taken to accumulate $300 back in 1965? 2 or 3 days' work. Maybe a week's work at the most. Just imagine, once the $300 was invested, you wouldn't have to do any more work, because your pipeline was already built. The only other work you'd have to do is check the stock prices in the newspaper every now and then. Ask yourself, wouldn't it be great if you could turn $300 into $1 million without having to lift a finger? Can you see how the wise use of leverage can multiply a little money or a little time 1,000 times over? Doesn't it make sense to find a mechanism whereby you could leverage $1 into $100? Or 1 hour into 100 hours? Wouldn't it be great to do the work once and let leverage do the rest? Folks, if you'd like to enjoy the benefits of leverage, then you need to do what pipeline builders such as Pablo and Warren Buffett did: find a mechanism to leverage your time and money today. And enjoy a big reward tomorrow.